Hey everybody, Penguin here. This is going to be the first installment of my new series on basically information about stroke. It's not what happened to me, although I might make references to it. It's basically what is a stroke and what happens and things to look out for and just everything there that I can find information on a stroke. So we're going to dive right into it. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about, this is the first one, as I said, in my series of talking about strokes. As a stroke survivor, I have a lot of information, not only from what happened to me, but being around others, especially in rehab, and learning what happened to them as well, because I've learned that no two strokes happen the same way. While everything may be similar, they affect people differently, and they kind of individually, should I say, not differently, they affect people individually. So first I want to talk about the types of strokes and what their symptoms are. And that's what we're going to talk about in this first video. So there are basically two types of strokes. The first one is it's called ischemic. Now ischemic means lack of blood flow, basically. So if you're doing an operation, the ischemic time of the heart would be, or the brain would be, the time that it was deprived of oxygen to the brain or to the heart or whatever. So basically, a blood clot forms somewhere. Could be your leg, it could be anywhere. And it's very tiny. And it gets through all of the arteries and everything, gets through your heart, and it ends up in your brain where your blood vessels are normally smaller, okay? And it clots. Now, depending on what is after the clot, as far as your vessels and what part of the brain it affects, it could be devastating. But most of the time, ischemic brains don't kill people right away. I'm not saying they don't kill people, because they do. But most of the time, it just debilitates somebody. Okay? And when brain tissue dies, it dies. It doesn't regenerate. It doesn't come back. Okay? And that's why it's so important to get medical attention as soon as possible to stop it from dying. I mean, if it's, say if you hold your breath for 2 minutes, what are you going to do? You're going to pass out, but you're going to wake up and start breathing again. Well, if the brain is deprived of blood in a certain area for hours, then it's going to die. But if it's only minutes, it has a good chance it might be able to be regained and live again. So that's what an ischemic stroke is where a blood clot forms somewhere in the brain. Now, they are the most common type of stroke in adults, okay? It's the ischemic. Now, the second one is a hemorrhagic, and that is basically a bleed. You have a blood vessel, an artery most of the time, that it breaks and it starts to leaking blood, or it pops, or it just leaks, and it leaks into the brain. Well, because that your brain is kind of tender, it'll kind of put pressure on the brain, and that can actually kill the brain. So, not to mention the fact that if it leaks out, everything after it's not getting the amount of blood flow that it should, because it's leaking out. So that will cause a brain. It's more deadly than an ischemic type of stroke, but it's far less common. Okay. Now, strokes can hit anytime, anywhere. And just a little bit of information. Everybody says, why do they call it a stroke? What's up with that? Well, the word came about back when medicine was first starting to be practiced. And because a stroke can hit anytime, anywhere, and it's fast, people would be fine 1 minute, and next thing you know, they have a stroke, and they're debilitated. They can't talk, or they can't function, or something's wrong. And because they didn't know what was causing it, because they couldn't look into the brain at that point, they were said to have been struck down by God. So by definition, being struck down, they had a stroke. And that's one of the... I don't want to use the term old wives' tale, but that's one of the theories on why it is called a stroke. So, now, what do strokes cause? Well, they cause a numbness or tingling or weakness, loss of movement in your face, your arm, your leg. Usually it's just on one side of your body. Could be the right, could be the left. Keep in mind, if you have the stroke on the right side, it's going to affect the left side of your body. If the stroke is on the left side, it's going to affect the right side of your body. Okay? Now, you might have a vision change. You might be able to see or not see. It may get blurry all of a sudden. It may get fuzzy. Just something's wrong. You know that something's up with your eyesight. Okay? But you got to keep in mind too, because, and I will cover this in another session, but that could also be the sign of a migraine coming on too. So we'll talk about how to weigh out the differences on those. Okay? You might have trouble speaking, slurred speech. Sometimes you can't find the words that you want to say, which is a type of aphasia. But something's up with your speech. You're not speaking as properly as you should. You might have trouble understanding, like, just simple statements. You know, where's the door? Well, you may not understand what they're saying. You know all the words, you can understand the words, but you just can't put it in the terms of what they're saying. So another problem is with walking or your balance. Because a stroke affects the side of your body, usually your leg goes out. You could say it becomes numb or just becomes unable to be used. And you can't walk. So that's going to cause your balance to go out, and that's going to cause you to fall or whatever. So keep that one in mind. And you might get a sudden severe headache. It could be a migraine, or you think it is. But it's different. It just feels different than past headaches. If you have experience with headaches, it doesn't feel the same. Okay? And you can tell that something's different. So, but if you have any of the things that we just talked about, especially one or more of them, if you got a bad headache and you're having a problem with your vision, or your leg's not working right, or your speech is up, chances are you're having a stroke, or you're having a TIA, which TIA is temporary ischemic attack. And basically that is, you're actually having a stroke, but it's only temporary. It might be for a minute or two, it might be for a second or two, but normally within 5 minutes it goes away and you're back to your normal self. Don't think that it's over now, because that is just a beginning to knowing that there is a problem, okay? When you start having those, or even just one, usually a massive stroke is right around the corner, guys. So, you know, you got to pay attention to your body and what it's doing. And if you get those symptoms, you really need to get treatment. Even if you go to your doctor and they start you on a blood thinner or anything like that, you need to do something, okay? TIAs are temporary, that's by definition, but doesn't mean they won't keep happening. It doesn't mean that it won't cause an actual stroke. So, you know, we hate for that to happen. So be careful and pay attention to your body. Now, if you think that you're having a stroke, have you perform on yourself or have somebody perform on you. It's called the FAST test. And basically, F for face drooping. Okay, I still have a droop here. I may have it the rest of my life. I'm not sure. If you look at my past videos, sometimes I speak better, sometimes I speak worse, because it changes day to day as to how I'm feeling and how my body's reacting to the day itself. Okay, so F is for face drooping. A is for arm weakness. You know, you have somebody lift your arm up and see if you can keep it up there. A lot of times you can't. It'll just fall down. That's a big sign too. Speech difficulty. You're hearing me speak now and I'm slurring my words a little bit. I used to speak perfectly natural. I used to speak with such phonetic and I was a really good speaker. But now I don't like the way I sound, but there's nothing I can do about it except work at getting better. So that's exactly what I do. 4 is T, time to call 911. It's so important that if you think you're having a stroke, that you get medical attention within the first 2 to 3 hours. Because if you are indeed having a stroke, they can give you a clot-busting drug. There's several of them out there. I had the one called TPA, and if given in enough time, they can reverse a stroke immediately, or it may make it where you recover more quickly. And I think that's what it did to me. I think it's helping me recover more quickly, although I'm still, like I said the other day, about 60%. So, but had I not received that, I mean, would I even be alive right now? There's no way to tell, and I don't want to dwell on that because it's kind of morbid, and I kind of like being alive right now. So keep that in mind. Fast, face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty, time to call 911. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And take care of yourself. And if you think you're having these, or somebody thinks you're having these, get to a doctor. It's very, very important that you get to a doctor, because it may be the difference of being alive or being dead. So keep that in mind. So that's the first video in my series. I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And any questions, please ask me. I'll be glad to answer anything that I can. I'm not going to give medical advice. The biggest medical advice I'm going to give you is to get to a hospital. Call a doctor, call 911, do something. That's the most advice I'm going to give you. But I will, based on what I've seen and what I've observed from others, because I have had other members of my family that had strokes, both on my wife's side and my side. A stroke actually is what killed my father 2 years ago. We're going on 3 years ago. So, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But stay healthy, be informed, and know the signs. This is Penguin Speak. Peace out.